Welcome to another edition of From the Press Box on this May 10th, 2021. My name is Rob Leonard. Joining me, of course, is my co-host, and yes, he is my brother, Tim Leonard. Brother, hello. How are you?
Yes.
How are we doing today, brother?
Good morning, brother. I'm doing outstanding as usual. How are you? How about yourself?
I'm doing fine too. That's good to hear.
Great meatballs yesterday. Great Mother's Day celebration yesterday.
Yeah, great meatballs Suzanne made.
Great meatballs by our sister.
Yeah. I already ate them all. When I got home last night, I finished them all.
Good job, brother.
Yeah. She didn't eat them all. I don't know why. She should have taken some home. I don't think she did.
I don't know what happened, brother.
I don't know. I was happy, though.
Yes.
Anyway, let's start off with the Mets. The Mets are in first place. And, I was looking at the standings for the NL East. Everyone's pretty close to that. I thought by now it would start spreading out, right, because it's not a great division, but everyone's still pretty close.
Yeah, that's kind of how baseball is at this point.
Right.
There was a point, I want to say it was 3 or 4 days ago, where there was not a single team in Major League Baseball that had a winning percentage above 600. So never mind just the National League East. I'm talking all of baseball. And it's still, right now, there are only 2 teams in all of baseball, and that is the St. Louis Cardinals and, sad to say, the Boston Red Sox, who have a winning percentage of 600 or better. But, brother, I will say that your New York Yankees, your New York Yankees are making a charge right now. So we'll see what happens. We'll see where we are in about a week or so.
Anyway, was it a rat, brother, or was it an opossum that snuck into Shea Stadium from probably one of the auto garages right outside? Probably didn't pay a ticket. Probably was looking for leftover hot dogs or something. And somehow, Francisco Lindor and McNeil, they get in a fight over this, like they were going to bet on it or something. What happened there? Because I'll be honest with you, brother. If you're fighting, it wouldn't be the first time Mets have gone after each other.
Wouldn't be the first time teammates have gone after each other.
Keith Hernandez versus Darryl Strawberry. Those fighting Mets who fought each other and everyone else. This actually could be a bonding moment for the Mets. These two actually fought and everyone ran in. It wasn't for the rat or the possum. It was because 2 players on the team were fighting each other during a game.
Well, first of all,
no one's saying that, right, brother? That's
the thing. Nobody is saying that. And except me, because actually Todd Zeile said it after the game. Todd Zeile spoke some truth about the incident, and I will say this, brother. Nobody knows for sure what happened. The Mets certainly are selling the whole story about whether it was a rat or a raccoon that Francisco Lindor was selling to the media after the game. I will say this. I don't know for sure what happened, and we'll probably never find out what happened. Well, we won't find out until we get back to normal, let's say. Because reporters won't be able to find out what's going on until they're able to work the clubhouse again. When you're doing Zoom interviews, Zoom chat interviews, you can't find out from a player what went on, and you can't have the kind of privacy and the kind of low key conversation that would result in the truth coming out about that. But I will say this. Mark,
let me just say something. It's a great example would be, let's say you're at the Mets game, you're covering it, and you go up to any player and say, "Hey, Lindor versus McNeil. What happened?" And they just give you that look. And that tells you everything. You don't have to even get an answer, or you can maybe ask a little more. But that look saying, "Yeah, okay, they did fight," is something you can't get. You're right, from the Zoom. So
exactly, and the whole problem that I have with the Zoom interview is everybody gets the same answers. It's not, it's not conducive to good reporting because everybody's getting the same thing. You're not getting anything private. You're not getting anything confidential. Nobody's telling you the truth about anything. Like a Mets player is not going to say in a Zoom conversation, hey, Luis Rojas is a terrible manager. I don't like the guy. He doesn't know what he's doing. Now, I'm not saying that Luis Rojas is a terrible manager or he doesn't know what he's doing. We don't know. But a player is never going to say that when 20 reporters are on a call with him.
No.
Because then it's the back page the next day, and then that player will be perceived as just a bad guy. He's a troublemaker. He's a coach killer. Somebody like that. So that won't ever happen on a Zoom call. Now, as I said, we don't know what happened, but common sense will tell you that Francisco Lindor was lying to the New York media the other night, I should say. Francisco Lindor might wind up learning a very hard lesson in that you don't lie to the New York media. Because you will be found out at some point. And there are a lot of people covering, whether it's the Mets or any team who have relationships in clubhouses, who know enough people, and who will find out the specifics of what happened. I will tell you, as somebody who has done this for a long time, who has had relationships with various athletes over the years, and who is, who has enough common sense to be able to figure something out like this. What happened with Lindor and McNeil had nothing to do with a rat, a raccoon, an opossum, a zebra, a lion, or anything. It had nothing to do with an animal that walks on four legs. It has to do with two angry baseball players who decided to trade hands. And that was going on in the tunnel behind the Mets dugout. And I'll give you the reason why. You saw players in the dugout just absolutely bolt for the tunnel. You saw a couple of players who weren't even in the dugout sprint down the stairs and to get to the tunnel. That was not because there was some sort of giant New York rat in the tunnel that led to the Mets dugout. That story was preposterous. And if that's the relationship that Francisco Lindor wants to develop with the media covering the Mets, he's in for a long 10 years.
Yep, I agree.
Because that is not the way to start your first year with your new team, and especially with your new media. Crap like that might fly in Cleveland, where there's 4 or 5 people covering the team. It's not going to fly in New York.
No, and he should realize that this is New York. It's a big difference. He should have known that signing his contract, and someone's going to call him out on this eventually. The only thing that's holding any facts right now from coming out is the fact, like you're right, like you said, everything's done with Zoom. Eventually, they're going to start letting people. If they're going to start letting fans, and they have to start letting the media into the ballpark. So
but that's the other thing that that will be one of the last things to happen, because I'm sure the players and the teams would love it to stay like this as far as post game interviews. They don't want that. They don't want the media to have access. If they can limit some of the access that way, they would love that.
Well, in many ways, it's already happened, and you have these after game press conferences, and you've been in those rooms.
Right.
There's 30 people in the room, and again, those guys in those type of press conferences aren't going to knock anyone, because you got it being put on SNY or whatever the game, or Yes or whatever, and they're not going to get people, so to speak.
But
it's not like when you walk up to a guy he's at his locker and he's changing, and hey, man, what happened, man?
But that is how you would have found out. Lindor probably would have sold the same lie if there were 30 or 40 reporters around his locker after the game. He would have been sitting there holding court, smiling it up, laughing it up. Oh man, that was a rat, crazy rat. Oh my God, I couldn't believe the size of the thing. And everybody in the media would have been looking at each other like, really? Is he really trying to sell this crap to us? Because you could even hear it on a Zoom call. There were a couple of reporters who said like, are you really going with this? Like, this is your story. Because did you see the reaction of your teammates? Did you see the way that the guys bolted to the tunnel? Like there was something really bad going on? That's not because they want to go see a rat or a raccoon or anything else.
Yeah,
unless there was a unicorn in the tunnel, or unless there was a pig flying, which is really what's going to happen when we finally do see a rat or a raccoon in the Mets tunnel. There'll be a pig flying in there too. But that's all part of why I can say with a good amount of confidence and certainty that Francisco Lindor was lying to the media and in that way lying to Met fans as well.
Yeah, this is when Uncle Stevie should come in and say, okay, yeah, there was a fight. I've sat them down. We've worked it out. Don't worry about it.
It's not the owner's job, brother. It's not the owner's it's Sandy Alderson's job. It's Luis Rojas's job. It's not Steve Cohen's job.
Yeah, but Steve Cohen has a lot of goodwill right now with the fans, and I guess the media even too. And if I'm him, I would do that just to take away some of the stink that's going to happen eventually when it does come out as a story. Anyway, brother,
this will pass, brother. It will pass.
It will
because it's not that big of a deal. But I think fans want to know if there are personality conflicts on their team and what is being done to fix those things.
Well, like I said,
let's face it, McNeil and Lindor are two of the Mets' best hitters.
Right.
You don't want them going at each other.
Well, like I said, brother, Darryl and Keith also fought, and they play on some great teams together. So, that's part of it. We should say Jacob deGrom has pain or tightness, I should say, on his right side. Pulled himself out of the game yesterday. He did get the win, though. I was so worried.
Scoring 4 runs.
Yeah, and I was like, I hope he doesn't, because he actually left with 1 run. So I'm like, he's pitching good. And then they announced that he stepped out, and I'm like, oh, man. But he did get the win yesterday, so that's a good thing.
Well, deGrom's going to have an MRI. I assume they'll do that today.
Yeah,
and I'm sure that sometime later today we'll hear some kind of an announcement as far as what's going on with him. But that he missed a start last week, and then he comes into this start, and like you said, I mean he was after 5 innings, all of a sudden he starts feeling a little bit of tightness. That's not a good thing. Missing a start is bad enough for him because he's a guy who's been healthy for pretty much his entire Mets career. But then when it becomes a consecutive starts sort of thing, and Luis Rojas said that the pain or discomfort or whatever you want to call it that he felt on Sunday was different than what deGrom was dealing with earlier in the week. So the fact that it's 2 different pains is probably not a good thing either. But I guess it's probably on one hand it is a good thing because if it's not the same area, the same injury, then the other one probably wasn't all that serious. But better to have him miss a start than do what Syndergaard did and fight through it and get hurt, get like a real injury.
Well, brother, maybe he just needs something simple like a new bed. My back's hurting right now too. It's because of my bed. I think I need a new bed. So
time for a new bed, brother.
That might be. Anyway, the Yankees, who were in last place a couple of weeks ago, the Bob Croce crap machine, as you like to call it, was out there enticing Tim Leonard, trying to get him to get angry on Facebook about how the Yankees were in last place and those Red Sox. Were they in first place at the time, brother?
Yeah, they still are. They're having a good start, brother. But this has happened before. It came up in my Facebook memories That Croce was doing the same thing 3 years ago. Same exact lines, same exact crap. All the what I love to call on my Facebook page the Croce idiot predictions.
And anyway, the Yankees,
he has called for the Islanders to be a one and done team in the playoffs. He makes a lot of dumb predictions because it's all anti-New York. That's his thing.
He's got problems with New York. I know he's your buddy and everything, but anyway, the Yankees are now in second place. They've won 9 out of 12. They beat the Nats yesterday. Aaron Judge is in a slump, brother. This is not what you expect from Aaron Judge.
Yeah, that's also true. He hasn't looked good lately, Aaron Judge. He's been striking out a lot. He needs to get sorted out. Even though the Yankees have been playing well lately, mostly due to Giancarlo Stanton, who just has been hitting bombs and ropes and just making a lot of good hard contact in the last couple of weeks. So he really has been carrying the team while Aaron Judge has been struggling. Aaron Judge the other night 0 for 5, 4 strikeouts. That's not Aaron Judge, but he is in a spot right now where he's got to just keep grinding and maybe it would be
he overswinging, brother.
It's hard to say. A lot of it has to do with bad pitch selection. When you get in a slump like this, you tend to start to chase, and the faster that you can eliminate that, the better off you are. I mean, when you're chasing pitchers' pitches, then for the most part, you're swinging at pitches that are out of the strike zone. You're swinging at pitches you don't have the chance to drive. And you're kind of just swinging to make contact as opposed to making hard contact and really driving the ball wherever it's pitched, really. And Judge, I mean, I don't remember the last time Judge squared up a ball. It's been more than a week. So I would like to see him just start to make good contact, and then it's something he's going to have to work through and get in the cage and just see pitches until he gets more comfortable again. Because it's an eyesight thing, it's a judgment thing. He just needs to recognize pitches and hit pitches that he wants to swing at and pitches that he can do something with, as opposed to chasing junk out of the zone. So he'll get it back. He's Aaron Judge.
Maybe Chili Davis, they can hire him to help him out now.
Well, I mean, they could, but Chili's looking for a job, so I think the Yankees will stick with their hitting coaches, though.
Yeah, well, I was surprised Chili got dumped. He was popular in the clubhouse. The Mets were still in first place. It just wasn't looking good that week. But who knows? Anyway, the Islanders, brother. I've been saying they're going to the Stanley Cup Finals for the last month and a half. Well, not the way they played this past week. Oh my God! First of all, they had their last. We think, we're not sure now because you can't say it until they actually move to the UBS Arena. But their last home game at Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum, which happened on Saturday, I think it was. But anyway, the Islanders are now in fourth place. They were in first place at one point.
At one point, not so long ago.
Yeah, so
but it speaks to how tightly packed the Eastern Division is. But it also tells you and shows you that the Islanders right now aren't they're a playoff certainty in the fact that they've made the playoffs and clinched the spot. But I'm worried. I'll be honest about that, because they just went through a week where they should have gotten 4 wins.
Yep.
When you're playing the Devils twice and the Sabres twice, and we said it last week on the show, that should have been 4 wins. Those are 2 of the worst teams in hockey. So what happens? The Islanders lose to the Sabres 4-2 and then 4-3, and then they lose to the Devils 2-1. That's 3 games in a row where it should have been 3 wins. Instead, it was 3 losses, and they scored 6 goals total against 2 of the worst teams in hockey. So I don't know what's going on with the offense all of a sudden, but right now the Islanders are having trouble scoring goals, and that's something that needs to get fixed in a hurry. because if you don't score goals in the playoffs, you're out. That's just, there's no other way around it. And
no, I agree. I agree.
They made these trades at the deadline, and especially the trade they made with the Devils was supposed to address the offensive needs that they had, and I don't know what's happened since the trade deadline. It hasn't worked.
Well, it reminds me of, brother, in the opposite effect is when the Islanders signed Butch Goring.
They traded for him, yeah.
Well, they traded for him, I should say.
Right.
Things changed when he got there. A team that we thought was going to the finals did go to the finals and win. And it was a lot because Butch Goring was stirring a pot, and it got everyone else going too. And those trades the Islanders made with the Devils and other places doesn't seem to be helping very, very much. And even though I think the Islanders are going to go to the finals, after last week, I'm not sure now. I mean, I was just very sad the way they're playing. They just, maybe they're thinking, okay, we're already in the playoffs and we can rest a little bit. Maybe that's it. But I don't know. I
don't think that they're thinking that way, because they shouldn't be thinking that way. I mean, they need to be thinking about winning games and getting themselves in a more favorable playoff position. If you're in fourth place, you're not playing home games in the playoffs. I mean, you'll be the road team in every series. So that's what the Islanders need to be focusing on. I was looking at the standings last night because Washington lost a game or two that they shouldn't have, and the same goes for the Penguins. If the Islanders had won all of these games against Buffalo and the Devils, right now, today, they'd be in second place, 1 point behind the Penguins for first place in the division. That's how close it is.
Yeah. No, it's very close. And,
the fact that they didn't, I was going to say, the fact that they didn't beat bad teams like they've been doing all season.
Right.
But now, here we are at the stretch run, and they literally just squandered the opportunity to at least compete and contend for the division title, because they have the game against Boston tonight, the Bruins, and if they win that, they'll finish in third place. But, man, what an opportunity lost this was.
It would have been nice to win the division. That would have been very cool. The last, last home game of regular season for the Islanders, as they are moving to the UBS Arena. They already announced a concert at UBS Arena, brother. I don't know if you heard. But did. Genesis will be playing there sometime in December. They're also playing the Coliseum, not the Coliseum, the MSG, and maybe, I don't know, maybe someplace else, but they are spreading it around.
I heard the tickets are quite pricey.
Like $296 for the upper nosebleeds.
That qualifies as quite pricey.
And then the resale is like three times the amount.
I see some bands are doing their own scalping now. Eliminate the middleman, brother.
I saw a resale site that had like $900 for the upper nosebleeds. I'm like,
insane.
But $296 is for the upper nosebleeds.
I paid insane.
It is. Years ago, I paid $120 for McCartney at the Barclays, and it wasn't bad. I just hate the Barclays Center so much. Concerts was even worse than watching an Islander game. Because it took forever to get out. That was one of the problems.
Right.
But anyway, the UBS Arena is basically done. They just have to put the seats in, basically. I mean, it's, we'll see what happens with...
Takes a while, bro. It takes a while to put seats in. You got to bolt every one of them in there. It's like doing vaccines. It's going to take some time.
Yeah, and of course, I have my vaccine, brother, by the way, next week.
Good job.
At the college. So I look forward to that. I know you've already had your shots. That's a good thing.
Yes.
Very, very important.
I am fully vaccinated.
That's a very important thing. And I was listening to This Week in Long Island News this past Friday night, and our Nassau County executive, Laura Curran, said like 70% of the county has gotten shots, which is an incredible amount.
That's good, but we need more.
I know, we need a lot more.
We need to get up to at least 85%, bro. That's, we gotta get these Trump supporters to get their vaccinations.
Yep, I agree. Anyway, this one I'm very strange. The Kentucky Derby winner, Medina Spirit. Is that how you say it?
Yes, brother. Medina Spirit. Okay.
He failed his drug test.
Everybody's failing drug tests, even horses.
Okay, now, obviously, if you got that horse, let's say you bet on him, you don't give your money back, right? Is that the way it's working?
The money's been paid out, brother.
See, that doesn't make sense.
Do you really think that gamblers, if the track says, oh hey, the horse failed his drug test, you're all gonna have to give your money back? You really think gamblers are gonna do that? That's not happening.
Well, they know. Well, I've never gone to a horse track. Do they give your name when you bet?
No.
Okay.
You just putting money through the window, and you got a person working the machine, and you tell them what you want to do. Like give me the exacta box on the 2 and the 6, and box it. And you give them your $4 or whatever you're going to bet, or your $20 or whatever, and thank you very much. And it's all handled very quickly and very professionally, and because they want more people to bet. So
you would think that they give you a special card that would have all your information.
No.
So if you in a situation like this, because horse racing only exists for gambling.
Of course.
No, there's no other reason that people would. If you had to take away the gambling part of a horse race, you would have like 1,000 people there.
People who love horses.
Yeah, but it's not very. It's about gambling. It's about legalized gambling, and I always worry that the sports world we live in right now, in 20 years, might be like that, where people don't go to the games anymore, and they just bet from home. And I'm sure that some of the leagues might want that, but I do worry about that. Because there's no interest in horse racing without the gambling. You don't want, baseball and football and basketball and hockey and soccer to have that same attitude. We really don't need to watch the game because, I didn't bet on it today. So,
But that's how it is for some people already. So, the big story here, brother, is that, Bob Baffert, the trainer of Medina Spirit, he's got a bit of a reputation as far as drugs and failed tests are concerned. It's not the first time this has happened to Bob Baffert. Now that being said, I'm not calling Bob Baffert a bad guy, but I'm just saying that it's not the first time it's happened. He has been suspended from Churchill Downs until they finish the investigation. Now you get suspended from Churchill Downs, and as a horse player, you're not making a lot of money because that's one of the main tracks in the country.
Right.
Medina Spirit tested positive for a drug called betamethasone, and that treats inflammation. Now, Bob Baffert, I heard it on an interview yesterday, or whenever the interview was, but I heard it yesterday, claim that Medina Spirit has never been treated with betamethasone. Well, that's got to be a lie because betamethasone was in his system and it was found at double the rate that is acceptable in the horse racing industry. So, they take, I'm sure they have second samples and they're going to test those, and they're going to be doing multiple tests on multiple samples to find out what's going on. But it would seem anyway like there is an issue here, because otherwise, why on earth would they come out and say that the horse that just won the Kentucky Derby failed the drug test and diminish that victory and also put the victory in doubt? Because
I don't remember anything like this in any of the major horse races, where, there's a drug problem, they were doping or whatever you want to call it. But I don't remember. I don't remember anything like this happening. I'm sure it has, because I don't, you and I, neither one of us follows horse racing all that closely. But really, you'd have to be an idiot to try to cheat in one of these races. These are the most scrutinized races in the country. Right. That's why. Why would you do it? Well, that's the question. Maybe somebody gave Medina Spirit
too big of a shot? I don't know. But, you would think from this first test that it would be impossible for Baffert's claim that the horse was never treated with this stuff. It would be impossible for that to be correct. So we're just gonna have to wait and see with this. I will say that if Medina Spirit is in fact determined to have had this drug in his system and is declared, the victory is waved off, then Mendaloon, which was the horse that finished second, would be declared the winner of the Kentucky Derby. Now, the other part of that is that if Mendaloon is declared the winner, the Triple Crown is over because Mendaloon won't be running in the Preakness.
Right.
So we won't have any kind of Triple Crown excitement this season. The only way that happens is if Medina Spirit is cleared of these charges, and because he is running in the Preakness, and obviously he would have to win it for some sort of Triple Crown hype to begin for the Belmont Stakes. But this has really been a jarring story for the horse racing industry. I mean, this is, like you said, this is an incredibly rare thing. And it's. I mean, when I first saw the story, it was a wow moment. It was like, holy cow! Are you kidding? This is a major story, and especially with somebody like Baffert, who obviously is an internationally known horse guy. How could somebody with as much experience and as much notoriety as Bob Baffert make this kind of mistake?
That's true, and I'm thinking, and you just mentioned the Belmont Stakes, brother. If the Islanders continue to play into June, this year, next year, whenever, there could be major problems with having like 100,000 people for the Belmont Stakes and then another 20,000 for the Islander game, if it's on the same day. Obviously, you can even have it during the day, the way sometimes the NHL does their playoff games. It would be kind of interesting.
I don't think the NHL would schedule a game on that day and have.
Well, you never know. Let's say the Islanders make the finals.
I'm fairly certain of that, brother. I mean,
those games are usually scheduled in advance.
But you could figure it out and make an exception, or because first of all, you have to still have to get the teams there. They're not dropping teams in by helicopter. We all, no matter how important an athlete is, they still use the same roads as
Well, that's the problem.
Joe
it's going to be a zoo over there.
Well, that's my point.
And I'm just thinking also, as you know, I lived in Elmont for a couple of years back in 91 to 93. Where's the hotel the teams are going to stay at? I mean, I haven't heard that there's going to be a hotel built at Belmont. The closest hotel is up on Jericho Turnpike, which I stayed at a couple of days on snow days.
They might stay. They could stay in the city, or they might stay at the hotel at the Coliseum.
Maybe
where they stay now. So
right. So I'm just thinking. I'm thinking about the UBS Arena, brother. It's all in my head.
Yes.
Anyway, you're listening to 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. You're listening to From the Press Box here every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. This show becomes a podcast later on at wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Spreaker.com, and what else? Oh, we're also part, brother, of the Sports Talk family here at WHPC. Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., Sports Talk, and then there's an additional show every Tuesday from 10 p.m. to midnight. But we're on Mondays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. I'm Rob Leonard. And
did you say iTunes, brother? Did you say iTunes? I don't know.
No, well, I said Apple. So, isn't that iTunes?
All right. iTunes. Just make sure you say iTunes.
Okay, iTunes.
We're a big deal. We're on iTunes.
Well, we're on Spotify, too. That's big. There's a lot of people are on Spotify. Our friend Rob Tuck. Exactly. He's Mr. Spotify. He just gave me a box of CDs. He says, I don't need these anymore. I have Spotify.
See that? And
I'm like, damn, he gave me all the Billy Joels and all the Lynyrd Skynyrd's he had. So you're all set. It's very cool. I'll take any CDs. You know that.
Yes, I know. I'm well aware.
Anyway, let's talk soccer, brother. We always put soccer at the end. I'm going to put it in the middle of the show today, just as it'll be the same amount of time, but we'll throw it in the middle of the show because we are a soccer-friendly show. First of all, it was announced last week that the USL, which is, what is that, minor league for
that's the
Major League Soccer?
Below Major League Soccer, yes.
Well, there's going to be a team in Queens,
yes.
And they're calling them the Queensboro FC.
There you go.
Which actually makes a little more sense than the NYCFC. But
bad colors, though. I'm not crazy about the colors.
Yeah, but their logo looks pretty good. And they're going to be playing at York College. They're building a 7,500-seat arena at York College, which I'm shocked by.
Yes.
And if you don't know where York College is, when you come in on the train to Jamaica, you pass it. So I don't, it's going to be interesting. I'm not sure if this type of building of a stadium is necessary, but it's only 7,500, so it's not a big deal.
It gives the team a home, and it gives them a home that, let's face it, 7,500 seats is probably even still too big for a team on that level.
Right.
That's that would be equivalent to like the League of Cosmos playing it.
Right.
All right. And the Cosmos play at Hofstra. So that sort of capacity, 7,500, is probably, it's in the range. They'll probably wind up getting somewhere in the neighborhood of 4,000 or 5,000 or average in that range. I'm sure they're probably hoping they'll average somewhere in that range. But, it's better to play in a place that holds that kind of capacity than to play in somewhere like Red Bull Arena, which holds 27,000, I think, is the capacity. And then you're playing in a building that looks almost empty. So I understand. It's about perception, and it's about looking around the stadium that you're playing in and seeing it being at least half full, and creating buzz and showing people that hey, this is a team that you want to support because look how many other people are getting behind the team. So that's all part of it. Well, it's not going to be a fancy place, I can tell you that.
No. I saw the drawing. It looked more like a high school gym with a field in the middle of it. But it reminded me like when we saw the first Cosmos game when they came back, and they already had a fan base that was based behind the goal.
Right.
So, and there was a lot of like music and stuff like that. So
people hitting drums, people dancing.
Right.
Soccer games, it's a good time. It's also a workout.
Yeah. So anyway, also we should say, brother, you mentioned the Red Bulls. Interesting on Saturdays. I mean, even our sister mentioned it. The Portland Thorns versus the NJNY Gotham. That's what they call them, even though they're playing in Harrison, where the Red Bulls play, which make it technically New Jersey, but they still call themselves the New York Red Bulls. But they were on CBS. They were on. They actually had women's soccer on CBS, not on the cable network, but actually on the network. So
because it was a cup final. So
yeah, so it's kind of it was nice to see that. Women's sports is. I always thought it was going to come through soccer. Have more people accepted and stuff like that. And also because they keep winning the World Cup and the Olympics. That's part of it, and they're much better than the men because the men can't seem to do anything. But it was nice to see. It was nice to see them on CBS, and they actually at one point said, "Well, some of these games are going to be on this, but the finals in November, will be on CBS." So it was on at 1:00 in the afternoon. It wasn't.
Well, let's point out that Portland did win the game.
That's true. They did.
They did beat. I thought it was NYNJ Gotham, but it's still Gotham. That's the old Sky Blue for anybody who follows women's soccer. Sky Blue, sometime last year, changed the name, just did a total rebrand. I was never all that happy with the whole Sky Blue name anyway. To me, Sky Blue is North Carolina, not New Jersey.
Yeah.
But somebody came up with this. And
they also moved to the Red Bull Arena. So
right, they used to play their games at Rutgers at Yercac Field. So to me, that rebranding was long overdue because I thought the whole Sky Blue concept to begin with was kind of stupid.
Right, and that,
but it's good. You know, Carly Lloyd, one of the most recognized women's soccer players we've had in this country's history, is a member of that team, and obviously a New Jersey native. We'll see what happens this year. I'm curious to see how they do.
And what's going on with Tottenham, brother?
Tottenham this week was a disaster. It was they were playing at Leeds. Leeds United needed a win because and there's 3 games left in the season, and a win would have put Tottenham 2 points away from the top 4, and that has been the goal all season. And instead, Leeds winds up winning 3-1. There was a goal that Harry Kane scored that was ruled to have been offside, where if you look at the picture, they did a VAR, video assisted review. And if you look at the picture that they took from the VAR, Harry Kane is 100% even with the defender. I don't know how they call him offside. When you look at this picture, nothing on his body was behind the defender. And yet they still called the goal offside, waved it off. Leeds United scored the next goal. They were up 2-1 at halftime instead of Tottenham being up. And then they scored a late goal when Tottenham was pushing everybody forward looking for the equalizer. I am of the mindset right now that Spurs will be finishing in 8th place. And I'm not at all pleased about it.
One thing about that video assist thing, I have to say, brother, because you posted that thing on Facebook.
Yes, I did.
It's almost too exact about offsides. If you're a step ahead or 2 steps ahead, well, let's say you're 2 steps ahead of the guy with the ball. Okay. That's understandable. But if you're basically even, but you're a little bit like ahead, come on, you're running together. You're not running like with a fence around you that, ties to the person who has the ball or something. Or if you're getting a pass, I'm not sure why it has to be that exact. There should be some human characteristics of running side by side, where they will allow. I mean, I'm not talking about Harry Kane's thing. I'm talking about, and when I saw that, I was like, they're really being exact. Well, and they screwed up also on yours.
Yes,
but
yes, here's the thing with that, brother. Many years ago, it was decided by the powers that be, and I'll just say FIFA in general, that if an offensive player was even with a defender, that was onside. It used to be that the defender had to be. There had to be a measurable space between the defender and the forward. So the forward couldn't even be even. Even was offside. Then they decided even was going to be onside. Now, there have been instances this season where, and remember, a player is running. So while somebody is running, your arms don't really matter because you're not running on your arms.
Right.
But there have been players who have been called offside this year because their hand was just past the defender. Their feet were onside, but their hand, because, like they were extending as they were striding, obviously you're moving your arms when you run, and their hand at the point where the ball was passed was behind the defender, so that made them offside. That's how stupid this rule has gotten, and that's how stupid the VAR has gotten. Now, I obviously was upset with the call that was made on Saturday in the Tottenham game, because this was a season-altering decision. If Tottenham is now 2 points out of the top 4, well, you know what? There's a pretty decent chance that at worst we'll be playing in their Europa League next year, because that would require a 5th or a 6th place finish. Tottenham's got 3 games left. I'm expecting them to win all of them because they're playing against weak competition in these last 3 games, and Leicester, which currently is in 4th place, has games left against some of the powers of the league. I'm not sure if Leicester's going to win another game this year. And I don't say that because I don't like Leicester. I mean, Leicester is, they're just any other team to me. And they've obviously a few years back won a title very unexpectedly. But they have, I forget who they're playing, but it's something like Manchester City, Chelsea, and West Ham or something like that. So those are 3 of the 5 top teams in the league. So they certainly could lose all 3 of those games. And
Sure.
they were upset by who was it? Newcastle or West Brom or somebody the other day, which they shouldn't have lost that game, but they did. So, decisions like this, they matter. And they matter because your one decision could take European football away from a club, and those clubs get massive bonuses for playing, whether it's the Europa League. Obviously, you don't get as much for the Europa League or the Champions League, which teams get massive bonuses. Then that money is used to acquire new, younger, better players.
Or you have to trade off some of your high salary guys.
Well, that's the problem, and that's the issue. So with Tottenham losing that game, now Liverpool is ahead of them. West Ham was ahead of them already. Chelsea has moved up to third place. They moved ahead of Leicester. So it shakes up everything in the league. So, and this is why they wanted to start the Super League, brother, because then a team like Tottenham wouldn't have to worry about moving to the Europa League Well, no, the Europa League is something that you want, brother. It's not like you're moving there. That's something that you want. That's a separate competition from the Premier League. We had this conversation a couple weeks ago. So that is something that teams want, is that additional competition, because, like I said, that's how you make more money. But, when you're looking at what is going on, it really was frustrating to see what happened and to see where we are right now. Like I said, West Ham right now is in 5th place, Liverpool is in 6th, and Tottenham is in 7th. Now, that being said, Everton is 1 point behind Tottenham, but they have a game in hand.
Right,
so
right.
Chances are, if Everton wins that game in hand, they'll wind up ahead of Tottenham.
Okay, well, what's happening with Major League Soccer, brother? NYCFC and your New York Red Bulls.
Well, you're NYCFC. NYCFC finished in a 1-1 draw with Orlando City on I believe it was Saturday. The draw pushes them into first place in the Eastern Conference, so good for them. And the Red Bulls defeated Toronto FC 2-0 on that game. Your boy, brother, 17-year-old Caden Clark scored again for the Red Bulls. Clark, 17 years old, brother, kid's a phenom, has scored 4 of the Red Bulls' 7 goals this season. Where would they be without this kid? The win moves the Red Bulls into third place. They have 6 points. That's 1 behind NYCFC in the Eastern Conference. So the metropolitan area has 2 of the top 3 teams.
Who did Newsday call years ago, phenom?
Probably Freddie Adu, brother.
No. Who's the Mets guy?
Greg Jeffries?
No. Was it Jeffries?
It had to be, brother.
Phenom? Was it?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we should say, by the way, you mentioned Orlando. I read, and I was shocked at this, that the family, I guess the Vikings, or maybe not the Vikings, but they're from Minnesota.
I don't know where you're going with this, brother. But,
and they were offered the Orlando team and the stadium and the women's league team. There was like $450 million for all 3. I was shocked.
Wait, what 3? Are you talking men's team,
for 3 teams,
and what?
And the stadium. That's a lot.
That story, brother. But yeah, Major League Soccer franchise fees now are in the 150, 200 million.
That's a lot of money. So I was like, because they were trying to get a team in Minnesota a few years ago, and I guess it didn't happen. And then these people are from Minnesota, so I don't know if they're going to move the team. But if you already have a stadium, you can't just, you can move if you have a stadium, but if you own it, then you have to do something with it.
Well,
anyway, brother,
I'm checking that right now, brother, and apparently they are close to a deal. Orlando City owner Flavio Augusto da Silva is nearing a purchase agreement with the Wilf family, the owners of the Vikings. The sale will include Orlando City, the Orlando Pride, which is the women's team, Exploria Stadium, and the Orlando City Academy system, which is their youth system, and all of those players. Let me just go through this quickly. Yeah, the sale is expected to be valued between $400 and $450 million.
Million dollars.
So, yeah, it's a good call, brother.
Thank you. That's amazing. If you were to say that these teams would be worth this, I mean, it's been a while. I mean, the league's been around for a while, but for some background, Mr. Augusto da Silva paid $70 million expansion fee to bring Orlando City to Major League Soccer in 2015. Okay, good for him. Who's the hottest team in the NBA, brother?
It could be your New York Knicks, brother.
I think it is.
It could be your New York Knicks.
They're 38-30 right now this season. If you thought they were going to 38 wins this year, you might have been considered crazy. And I think both you and I weren't thinking 38, but
I was thinking more than 22 and a half. That's what I was thinking.
We did say that. But
I hope the listeners took my advice and wagered some money so that they're ahead of the game today.
Well, they're 38-30 right now. They are playing really, really well. This is a team that you want to watch. They're playing like a team. They have the right coach. They have a lot of things going for them. And I should say I own stock in MSG, which is the owner of the Knicks and the Rangers. And but this is a very good team. They go into the playoffs. They might be in the best position for the playoffs, actually. 4 or 5, depending on what happens.
I would still rather be the Brooklyn Nets or the Philadelphia 76ers.
You know something, brother? As much as the Nets, they're in second place right now. I have to say, as much they should have had the biggest buzz this year. They have 3 All-Stars on their team, and they've barely played together, or 3 of them, in one game.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
And I think as the playoffs come, and I think they'll all be ready probably by the playoffs, but it makes you also think that maybe they weren't as injured as you thought they were, or they thought they were, or whatever. And I know that's not true because you have to go through certain things with injury list stuff, but the Nets should have been the team this year with these players, and they weren't. And the Knicks right now are, as they always are, the team in New York. But the Nets with their team should have been above them. And they are in the standings, but I mean, I'm talking about the buzz that the Knicks have right now, which is really good. And the Nets don't have that buzz, and they have 3 of the best players in the league.
Well, I mean, one reason for that is right now the Nets are stumbling towards the playoffs. I mean, the Nets had lost 4 in a row, which
stumbling is a great word, brother. I like that word.
Thank you. I work on these things. But yeah, the Nets lost 4 in a row before getting a win the other day over the Denver Nuggets. But I mean, the Nets lost to the Trailblazers. They lost 2 in a row to the Bucks in back-to-back. Then they lost to the Mavericks, and then they finally beat the Nuggets in Denver. So this is a team, the Brooklyn Nets, that should not be losing 4 in a row.
Not at all.
I mean, this is a legitimate super team. So the fact that they lost 4 in a row, first of all, has taken a division title out of the picture, and obviously the top seed in the Eastern Conference. But it also has put them in a bit of trouble because right now the Milwaukee Bucks are only a half a game behind the Nets for the second spot.
Right.
So you don't want to drop down to 3 because now you're playing the Miami Heat, and then you got to deal with Jimmy Butler, and you don't want that after what Jimmy Butler was able to do last year. So, I mean, the Nets to me have been a team that is somewhat complacent because I think for a long time now, especially since the James Harden trade, I think that they just think that once the playoffs start, they can flip a switch. But like you said before, the three stars on this team, Harden and Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, have played a total of 7 games together.
These 3, brother, should have been playing together and enjoying the moment, and the fans of the Nets would have been enjoying the moment too. And they'd probably say, this is one of the great seasons ever if you're a Nets fan, or even if you're a basketball fan in New York, because you have these 3 great players playing on your team. That doesn't happen very often. I still remember as a kid, brother, the Island are great teams, but, I remember even if you're going to talk about basketball, look, there's Dr. J winning 2 titles in the ABA, and mind you, he was only one real player. You can't count Billy Paultz, but
Super John Williamson too.
Well, Super John, yeah. Don't forget Bill Melchione and Mr. K. So, but
Soup was shooting threes before the three existed.
Well, no, when he was a kid, they had the 3-point play in the ABA. So
you're right.
Yeah. So, but that was a moment, and you knew it. And this Nets team hasn't, I think, embraced that moment of, God, we have 3 of the best players in the league. We should be, this should be like a Globetrotters game in certain games, because we should be just doing, half-court shots like Meadowlark Lemon, So,
it's weird to say that the team with the better record, which is the Brooklyn Nets, obviously, is a less exciting team right now than the team with the worst record, which is the New York Knicks. I mean, the Knicks are 38. They're 38-30, but it feels like they're a lot better.
Yeah, well, 9 out of 12, and if you had a chance right now, if the game was on right now, you had the Nets or the Knicks, you're picking the Knicks.
The Yankees are 9 out of 12. The Knicks are 13-3 in their last 16 games.
I'm sorry. You're right. 9 out of 12 is the Yankees.
So yeah, I mean that's 13-3 in 16 games. When was the last time you could say that about the Knicks? That they had this sort of extended run of excellent play. It's been years. So, this, and I'll give credit to Peter Body for this. I saw this on Twitter the other day. The Knicks this season, 38-30. The Knicks in the previous 2 seasons combined, 38 and 110.
Yeah.
So they've won as many games this season as they have in the previous 2 combined.
Yes.
That's how much better the Knicks are this year. They're a real team again. That to me is the ultimate compliment you could pay the Knicks, is they've been such a joke of a franchise for so long. They're a real team again. And this is what New York has been waiting for who knows how many years. Was just a good solid team to root for.
Imagine when Derrick Rose was first around with the Knicks, that he had Tom Thibodeau as his coach, because he seems to be a much quieter player. Now, mind you, it's a few years down the road and he plays differently, he's used differently, but he's fit in so perfectly with this Knicks system.
He's been fantastic this time around. And I am on record as saying I didn't want to make that trade.
I know that. I was a little worried too.
Because I remembered what Derrick Rose was like the first time he was here. I didn't see any reason for it. But and we've talked about this before. Derrick Rose and Tom Thibodeau have a connection. And that is the difference between Derrick Rose's first chapter and Derrick Rose's second chapter. It is that connection with Thibodeau, and Derrick Rose desperately wants to play for Tom Thibodeau. Yeah, and I mean, it's gotten to the point where I certainly wouldn't mind if the Knicks re-signed Derrick Rose.
I want them to.
I'm sure he would want to stay.
I'm sure,
and it's going to depend on the money. But if the money is relatively similar, I can't see why Rose.
Well, it also depends on who the Knicks keep and get. I think it'd be very important.
Of course.
Anyway, brother, another show is complete. Coming up next at 10 o'clock, Big Ed Newlands with the Good Gold Show, playing the songs you don't hear on the radio anymore. And this show will become a podcast later on either Spotify. What, brother?
Yes.
What?
Keep going. We'll talk after the show.
Okay. And this show will become a podcast later on Spotify and Apple, iTunes, and also Spreaker.com. My name is Rob Leonard. Joining me has been Tim Leonard, my brother and co-host. We'll see you next time. Take care. And thanks to Sean Novak for keeping this on the air. Take care and bye-bye.